Hello, my name is Sergeant Gonzalo Duran, and I'm the host of Vet Talk. I'm happy to be back on the air thanks to our sponsors, JM Empire Media and Vero G Production. If you are an organization dedicated to helping veterans, we would like to have you on our show. Feel free to email me at ceo@devildogusainc.org or feel free to call me at 516-515-0240. If you'd like to see what else we're doing, check out our website at www.devildogusainc.org. As always, God bless America. Hello, everyone. This is Vet Talk, and I'm your host, Sergeant Gonzalo Duran. First, I'd like to say thank you to our producers, JM Empire Media and Vero G Productions, for hosting our 6-year anniversary. Today's guest is the CEO and founder of Meet Me at the Crossroads, Diane Anderson. Diane, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
My first question is, what is Meet Me at the Crossroads?
Meet Me at the Crossroads is a faith-based, evidence-based, trauma-informed counseling program. And so what we do is we stand on the Word of God primarily, and we use evidence-based techniques to help veterans that have come back and have problems readjusting and acclimating back into civilian life. So we deal with things like PTSD, those that have experienced sexual abuse in the military also, things like that. And also we do advocacy and referrals for them that they need employment or they need medical services or housing.
And your organization is a not-for-profit?
Yes, it is.
So now, as a not-for-profit, is there any other organizations, like maybe say the VA that you're working with, or maybe the government agencies?
Well, we don't receive funding from any organization, so we basically have to fend for ourselves in the areas for doing fundraisers. I also have clothing that we sell, and I have books, but I do volunteer at the VA hospital in Kingsbridge. And so that's a way that I collaborate, but as far as any funding support, no.
Okay, so primarily by donations and sponsorship.
That's right, yes.
Okay. Just before anything, just so that people know what you're doing, and it's a hard work, would you let them know how to contact you?
Absolutely.
So that they can help out with the charity part?
Yes. So our website actually has a very easy donation button on our website at meetmeatthexroad.com, all lowercase. So when they go to that website, they can see exactly what we do. We have some photos of, different events that we were at, and also on the pages at the end, they can order clothing through there, and they can order books. So the clothing basically says, Meet Me at the Crossroads. And for the veteran shirts, it says, Serving Those Who Have Served.
Okay. Now, once again, you went pretty broad with the work that you're doing, which is great.
Yes.
I love it. The standing between the faith and the military and the counseling services.
Yes.
How do you put that all together? Because I'm sure that's a beautiful story right there.
It is a beautiful story. I came from a background where all military. My father was a Navy man. My brothers, Navy, Marine Corps, hardcore devil dog,
Hoorah.
Yes, And my son is now in the Air Force in his 3rd year. So this is something that I would say Uncle Sam has been in my life, since birth. And I've also seen the trauma because my father went through a lot of mental things that as a child, you don't know. But I've seen him with alcoholism and the stuff that he went through trying to find his way after military life. And so when I stand now as a woman, I want to give back and be able to be a resource for those that are going through that. And my mother was the spiritual one. So she was the faith-based person, always praying. So I said, God cares about everyone. So that's how I blend the two, when I'm walking in my calling, because I feel that this is a God-given call to help, And my target is veterans and youth because I feel those are the two populations that are really at risk.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, in that first part, for certification for the faith part,
Yes.
what do you have there that gives you that I would say authority?
Okay. Well, I have been in church serving for over 27 years, and also I'm an ordained licensed minister. And so that qualifies me in that area. And I'm also a New York State chaplain with the New York State Task Force.
Hmm.
So that's my spiritual background that gives me, kind of like the reason, the title.
The badge
part.
and everything.
Yeah.
So, boom, here I
Yes.
am.
Yes.
Me personally, I've always saw religion as a pillar for mental health. Now, I myself am a chaplain, and I'm not really a preacher, more of I like to say like a spiritual warrior.
All right.
And my task is more doing helping with the resources and getting events and trying to get people into the church, but without pushing them.
Yes.
And then I try to do non-denominational. So one day I'm working with somebody who's Muslim or Christian or et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So I look at that now. You have a background in it, for your work,
Yes.
your family. How did you see bringing it in to meet me at the Crossroads? So, like, what came first? Helping as a nonprofit for veterans, youth, the religion part, or they just mashed together at the same time?
Well, the religion part was always in it. And I'm going to take out religion because religion is just doing something habitual.
Okay.
So it's not religion, it's just faith-based,
Okay.
Youth came first because that's how I started working with the youth. I was already working in after-school programs, so I was there with them. And then veterans, just like I said, because it's in my blood, I just went right into it because I was always at the Veterans Hospital with my brother. I had always had a good relationship and rapport with the veterans, so it just flowed. And I said, this is somewhere that I feel most comfortable.
Would you tell us some of the qualifications that you have regarding the youth and the because you already went through the faith part and the veteran part. Now, what
Yes.
qualifications regarding the youth?
So right now, working with the youth, I have different certifications as far as life coach and PTSD certified for adolescents counseling certification. And right now, I'm in the process of getting my license for Masters in Social Work.
Oh, great.
So I'm like a lifetime learner, so I never stop doing stuff that, keeps me educated on the most current, and most effective techniques to help people.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, so what are some past work that you've done that has really been the highlight of your career so far?
I would say my empowerment workshops, because I'm a person that loves hands-on, and really it kind of got the COVID thing really
Yes.
was really impactful, and it stopped a lot of stuff. So now a lot of stuff is just over Zoom or something like that. But I'm hoping to get back into real live stuff, finding a place to do my workshop. So the most impactful, I would say, would be helping people understand who they are. Because I think that's the main thing that is happening that I see. People don't know their identity. They don't know who they are, and so they settle for whatever. When you know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, when you know that God has a purpose for your life, when you know that when you have a purpose, it gives you peace and joy and stability, when you learn how to identify your triggers and know how to react in a different way, which is part of cognitive behavioral therapy that we do. And also there's something called SIT, stress inoculation training. So we put you in a situation, of course, with safety guards around, but something that would trigger you and teach you how to react in a different way so you can get better results, because trauma is, everyone on earth has trauma, You cannot be born into this earth without being traumatized with something because it's all around us. So I just want to help people in that area, learning to deal with trauma and learning how to live with joy and peace.
Veterans, most especially,
Yes.
coming most, when you leave home, you're not ready. I don't think that many people are ready for that type of environment. And then you also have the combat portion of it.
Yes.
Coming back home, one of the biggest things that I've seen working as an executive officer for a nonprofit for veterans is readjusting.
Yeah.
And so when you said all that, the first thing that comes to mind is having to speak to somebody. And
Yeah.
a lot of veterans sometimes don't want to do the whole medical portion.
That's right.
The facilities and all that stuff. And they feel like going to, outside services, nonprofits, et cetera.
Yes.
Now, you have your hands in outside the VA and in the VA.
Absolutely.
That transition, was it smooth? Do you see, a relationship building further? How did you get to that point?
It just happened, I would say haphazardly. Like I said, I was going there so frequently that I hooked up with, I'm sure you know Johnny Williams.
Yes, good old Johnny, yeah.
From Help Is on the Way. So
Yeah.
he and I linked up and we started doing things together. And when they had the open fair, I would set up my table. And so that's how we got into that. And then I started getting introduced to different people, different directors in the hospital and stuff like that. But my main goal is always to do my separate, as far as meet me at the Crossroads. But, of course, collaboration is key to any nonprofit. We all should work together and help each other.
Yes, and funding for nonprofits is a hard game.
Yes, it is.
But the work that you're outputting, I'm sure, is bringing funds in because of the
Yes.
work that you're doing. Now, one of the biggest ones that I saw recently was for the youth,
Yes.
and over the summer. Would you tell the
Sure.
folks about that?
Was such a exciting blessing. That was the first time we were able to take inner city youth away for 6 days and 5 nights at the Poconos camp. It was awesome. I mean, we provided transportation. Of course, they had free lodging in the cabins. They had food, like they were feeding them 3-4 times a day, all you can eat, And they had a curriculum for them going hiking and going zip lining and swimming, canoeing. It was fantastic, And I am starting right now. I've been putting out a flyer for $5 a week to sponsor for next year because we want to do it again and take more kids with us, So it's like $200 a kid.
Okay.
And if they start now $5 a week, I said you spend more at Chick-fil-A,
Yes,
So I'm hoping that, we can get sponsorship for that because it was so beautiful. And it was spiritually grounded also because they had something called Club Night there. And so at night, the kids got together and they sang worship songs and, and they had a person come in and just give them like motivational spiritual talk,
Okay.
for different things that they're going through as kids. So it was pretty wonderful.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Just in case the viewers didn't hear it earlier, how can they reach you
Yes.
and donate?
Okay. You can reach me at meetmeatthexroad.com. You can see all the information. You can see the pictures from the camp, and you can just easily click on the donate button, and you can donate.
And I want to make this very clear. The reason why I'm saying it twice is because not only are you pushing for the veterans, but you're also pushing for the youth.
Yes.
And, a lot of people think just because you have the funds that it's easily split apart. Each objective, each program has its own,
Yes.
problems and resources. But, the point is the funds are needed for
Yeah.
that.
And one thing I want to mention when we talk about veterans have children.
Mm-hmm.
And when veterans are going through PTSD, those children are affected by that, And so it's not, you can't really separate the two. Kids are affected by what the adults go through. So when you're treating one, you're treating the line. It's trickling down.
And what I mentioned earlier, the readjustment. If a child was born when their parents were in the
Yes.
military, you can imagine being in the station, the military base, and then going
That's
back
right.
into the civilian life as well. I mean, that the impact on that is
Yes.
because the military lifestyle, the military community is.
Yes.
I don't want to say it's drastically different, but it has its own
Yeah.
entity right there. So. Once again, thank you for everything that you're doing.
Yes.
I love the camping program. Do you have
Oh,
anything
yes.
coming up that you want to mention?
Right now, no. I don't have anything per se coming up. I'm I'm planning a workshop. I am. And it's called Breaking the Cycle. But I'm looking for a facility so I can, like a venue, so I can invite people to that.
Right. So, I mean, how many people are you looking towards?
Probably 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna put my hand out there and say,
Okay.
I want to help you work on that.
Beautiful.
Okay. If we don't provide the venue itself, we'll help you get the connection
Thank
to
you.
get that.
I appreciate
Right.
that. That's awesome.
Now, could you tell us a little bit more about the program, though?
About the workshop,
The workshop.
that I'm going to come up with. Oh, that's coming up. Okay. It's basically for people that have been recovering. They're in recovery. So they've gone through different situations, and now they're doing something to give back.
Okay.
And so they're going to be telling their testimony about how they went through this particular struggle, what was it that caused them to get out of it, and how others can follow that pattern. So that's why it's called Cycle Breakers,
Perfect.
Yeah.
The reason I'm so adamant to help is one of the things I like to do is I reach out to people nationally and I speak to them regarding a hashtag we've been working on, hashtag End the Stigma.
Yes.
And I believe one of the problems that we have with mental resources and the community itself is that the stigma is if you say it that you need help, a lot of things start happening. If you do it for work, next thing you know, you might be labeled.
Yes.
If you're in the military and you say you have, PTSD, there's a point where they might have to remove you and discharge you. So do you risk that? And that's nothing
Right.
that shouldn't be, but, it's its own
That's
complications
very
there.
true.
Also, the aspect of that is I always try to do empowerment. So when I say,
yes.
I think I've written maybe 6 in the last year articles, and civilian and military. And the goal is always to say, look, you have your story. There have been bad parts, but there also have been good parts.
That's
Now,
right.
fortunately, that the ones that I've been talking to are at a point where they want people to know that if there's other people suffering out there, they can make it too.
That's right.
So what we're seeing is right there, and I'm beautiful. I feel a connection for that. So, like I said,
so that's right with the Cycle
I'm-
Breakers.
I'm putting my hand out
Yes.
there, and I'll be happy to help try to
Great.
get you a
That's
facility
going to be
for
awesome. Yes.
that. Now, let's change it up a little bit.
Okay.
Now we know each other.
Yes, we do.
We've been working together for quite a bit now,
And we met at the VA.
and we met at the
Yes.
VA. I do my best to go as to much meetings and different things. Not only the VA, government programs, the civilian, and I like to see all the dynamics. Now,
Yes.
sometimes when I reach out, it's clicks automatically. And I'm happy to say that it was one for us right there.
Yes.
I remember I grabbed your card, but I was in a rush to leave.
That's right.
And then, I called you, I think the very next day, and I'm like, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I think we met within like a week or so.
Yes, we did something together,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yes.
then, so that, testimonial right here.
That's
testimonial
right.
here.
I call that divine connections.
Since then, we've been working on at least 3 or 4 projects now. One for domestic violence for the community,
Yes.
working with junior ROTC cadets, reading to children and speaking to
Yes.
them. And one that escapes my mind right now, but I know there's another one. Out of those 3 that I mentioned, and the 4th that I'm forgetting at the moment, which one was your favorite?
I have to say, reading to those kids. Yes. That was a joy to see their responses. Yes.
For our listeners, our viewers, what we did was, one of the things that I try to do is, once again, always trying to empower. The military, when people talk about us in outside of, let's say, Veterans Day or Armed Forces Day, sometimes you might get a little negativity, but patriotism is always there.
Yes.
The problem is they try to keep it out in certain places. And I'm not saying that it's in a negative way, but, children need to see, they see cops all the time and they look, that's where a cop is and he's here to protect us.
Yes.
What I want them to know is, the military personnel and veterans, military specifically are protecting you now.
That's right.
Nationally.
Yes.
And veterans have given that blank check to watch over you, to protect you,
Yes.
etc. So that specific event, I wanted them to see a Marine, not just a Marine. I did invite others, but
Yes.
there was mostly veterans that came
Yes.
out. Navy veterans, Army veterans, but we had active duty Marines from the South Bronx come, and not only did they speak to the children, but they also showed them the Marine Corps vehicle
Yes. that
and
was
give them a
nice.
story of all the symbolisms of everything, like the
Yes.
Eagle Golden Anchor and stuff like that. And then us going to go speak, in your capacity of what,
Yes.
growing up in a military family and everything like that. It was such a beautiful moment.
It was.
And the principal came after. We said, look, they're going to remember this for the rest of their life.
Yes.
And right there, boom, that was worth
Yeah.
it.
I know. I saw the little kid. He didn't take off that Marine hat the whole time. He had it on. And now I remember the other event. You came to the after school program, remember?
There we go. Yes.
Yes, with the brigadier commander.
Yes.
So that was awesome to speak to the after school program.
Thank you for reminding me.
So letting them know the careers that are available to them within the military.
hmm
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things that General Rhonda from the SAR CEC Cadet Corps, I love having him talk because he's like a encyclopedia of not only military knowledge but also the Cadet Corps, and trying to bring let's say physical activities, knowledge, and stuff regarding the military. Not only the military, but just stability and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's beautiful, and I think we did preschool,
Yes.
and then the when we went to your event, it was middle school,
That's right.
and now my goal has been to do high school and colleges.
Yes.
Colleges is easy, but high school, I would like to do more events at high school, but that's right there is it's a hard venue to break
Yes,
through.
it is.
Because once again, the negativity of kids joining the military. Once again, they want the military to recruit because they
Yes.
recruit to high school kids.
Yes.
But there's always that little stigma. So I hope in the months and years to come, I can try to break through those
Yes.
barriers.
Yes.
Now, is there anything that you'd like to bring up that we haven't mentioned?
Well, I could just talk more about my 2 books that I wrote.
Yes, please.
Because with youth now, I see them going through a lot of different negative relationships, toxic relationships. So one of my books is called Meeting Mr. Right After Several Mr. Wrongs. So
Okay.
each chapter talks about a guy that starting from my first love up until my husband, and tells you about what things I went through. And then I bring scripture in to say what God says you shouldn't settle for and what you deserve as a child of God. So that's a very awesome book, not just for girls, but for guys too, because they need to understand what we go through, the different dynamics of relationships. And the second one is when your greatest weakness becomes your greatest strength in the kingdom. And that book is all about fear. Fear is something that stagnates and causes us to not move out into things that we should. And so that teaches you like how to overcome that. And when you step out and trust God, you'll be amazed at what you can do. When you're walking out in your calling, when you came out of the military, I know you didn't see yourself like now.
No, I did not.
You had to step out in faith and just know that you're going to do this. So that's what the book talks about, just following what your dreams are.
Now, if somebody wanted to purchase one, how would they go about doing that?
The books are on Amazon, but everything is through my website. So when they go to the website, we have a store page. And so they'll just click on where for the book.
Meet Me at the X?
Meet me at the xroad.com.
And then there's a section for the book?
There's a section for the book and for the clothing because we have hoodies, T-shirts, dresses, hats, and all of those proceeds go to helping us fund different events that we want to have.
That's beautiful. Anything else?
No.
No, that's it? Well, I would like to mention regarding the cadets.
Yes.
When we were speaking to them, in my mind, I didn't really connect with how hard the transition for them from the COVID, the pandemic regulations to
yes.
coming back, everything. And, I can think but I really can't feel what they went through. Because, for me, going through high school, it was, told me all my social
That's right.
socialization and stuff like that. For them to miss a large portion of that and then come back to the real world, I remember you had I don't want to call it a game, but one of the lessons
Yes.
was taking a ball and throwing it at you,
Yes.
and there was, different parts to talk about.
Yes.
For you and that program, what's the process so that people can try to think and see differently? Because that was something I've never seen before.
Okay. Well, what he's talking about is in my workshops, I use auditory, visual, and kinetic activities because everybody has 3 ways of learning. So I make sure I hit each area. So I never want, especially with children, to just talk at them because you'll lose them. And so what I had a Velcro target that they put around their neck, and that represented their heart, and their feelings and their emotions. And so the darts or the balls that they were throwing, it would hit areas where people could say certain things to them that could damage them, and not knowing how important it is to speak life into our youth and young people. And so that was the demonstration that when you hit the target, say if you hit 100 right in the center, that's something that really penetrated their heart and could last and cause them not to step out. Sometimes you hit something, you hit a 10 on the end. Somebody said something that didn't affect you that much, So we just went through that visualization and that activity to show them that words do matter and they hurt.
Which, if once again that socialization part,
Yes.
if they weren't interacting as much, it might be lost in the sauce for that.
That's right.
Um,
Yes.
Now, is there any upcoming resource fairs that you might know of that maybe the viewers might want to know about?
Oh, yes. I got to get the exact date, but I think it's September 9th. We're going to be, not just me, but my table and different people are going to be at Poe Park on 192nd and the Grand Concourse, and we're having a big event there. And we're going to be giving out clothes, and we have food, and we're going to have, a person ministering. And so it's like a big family event. Anybody can come out.
And for something like that, I'm assuming not only donation by funds, but donations of tangible items could be used?
Yes, absolutely. So we had people donating clothes, for adults, for children, shoes, sneakers. So, yeah.
Any kitchenware or anything like that could be used? Or
We didn't actually give out that, but why not? We can expand to that because some people may be in need of that. So I wouldn't limit it, I would just say, okay, yeah, that could be accepted too.
Well, I'll try to see if I can stop by. If I can't stop by that day, I'll do it
Yes.
before, because Devil Dog, we always have people dropping off things. Even though I
Yes.
say we're only looking for coats, books, and whatnot, they'll come up with baby cribs out of nowhere, and
Yes.
I'm like, okay, thank you, I appreciate your
Yeah.
donation here.
So I know last year they were also giving out boxes of sweet potatoes and mangoes and so stuff that they could take home too.
Well, to our viewers out there, I want to say one more time, Diana, if you can please tell them how they can reach you
Yes.
and your organization.
Okay. My organization is Meet Me at the Crossroads. We are a faith-based, evidence-based, trauma-informed counseling organization. We work with veterans and youth, and you can reach us at meetmeatthexroad.com.
So, once again, this is Vet Talk, and I'm your host, Sergeant Gonzalo Duran. Before I sign off, I'd like to say that the PACT Act has just finished registration, but if you have been impacted by the burn pits or any other exposures and you have medical documents, I always recommend submitting them to the VA. This shirt right here was, I worked on it with a mission organization formerly called Mission or Fashion Has Heart. Now it's called Has Hearts. This represents over 10 years of advocacy regarding the burn pits. It's been my mission to try to bring in, now that the PACT Act has been enacted, the battle is still going on. So, as always, God bless America.